Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Amplify Your Business. Today, I'm going to be talking to Curran. He is the Chief Laundry Folder. Get it right, Lance.
That's okay.
Of Local Laundry. Now, this is a guy that wants to give away $1 million. That's right. You heard it from me first. $1 million. Well, probably not first. You've probably been talking about this for a while, but you want to give away $1 million by 2030 to charities. So this is a business with a huge cause and something I'm really excited to dig into. So welcome to the show, Connor.
Yes. Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to be here. And thank you for giving a platform to other small businesses to allow themselves to share their story.
Yeah. Appreciate it. My pleasure. I love all the stories. I love just being inspired by the things that people are doing and learning from you guys who are out there doing some really unique things. And I know we're going to get into a bunch of that. But first, I want to hit you up with my first question. And that is, what should every entrepreneur know going into being an entrepreneur?
It's a great question. What should every entrepreneur know before going into being an entrepreneur? Is a couple things. So the first thing, it takes time, right? We live in a world of instant gratification. You want something to eat now, skip the dishes. You want to go somewhere, Uber. You want to watch something, Netflix. We're craving instant gratification. And it's the same when we have a crazy business idea. Oh, this is the best idea ever heard. Anyone's ever heard. I'm going to make $1 million by next week. And it takes time. Everyone wants to scale a business. Nobody wants to build a business anymore.
Love that.
Yeah. Right. So it does take time. The other thing you have to really get into before you go an entrepreneur is really get a good understanding of the numbers that go into a business, right? How much money you need to start up. I'm a big believer you don't need any money to start up, but that's beside the point. But once you actually get going, get a grasp on your numbers early and as soon as possible. And because it's always get caught up on the fun, the enthusiastic, the passion of the business. I want to make clothing. I don't worry about the numbers. The numbers will take care of themselves. As long as I'm selling more than I'm selling it for more than I'm buying it for, it's good, right? Yeah. You have to know your numbers. And the third thing every entrepreneur should know before diving in is that it's all about relationships. You never ever, especially in cities like Calgary and Edmonton, you never want to burn a bridge because you have no idea where it's going to end up. And this business is all business is a series and set of relationships. Because we all want the exact same thing in life. You and I want the exact same thing. Everyone does. They want to be happy, healthy, and they want to provide for their family. We might differ on how we get there. We might differ on what we do, but that's the basis of it. And so if we can all just have a relationship and understand it, a little bit of empathy, see something from both sides, you're going to be able to build a community. You're going to be able to build these real, authentic, genuine. So that's the three things I would say every entrepreneur should know.
Beautiful.
It takes time, know your numbers, and realize that every business is a relationship.
Yeah, I love them all. That's you really nailed it. And the passion that you have that you're putting into this is really good. I really love that. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, give me the backstory a little bit on Local Laundry. What kind of problems are you solving with this business, and what is it that you do, I guess?
Definitely. So we are Canada's most caring clothing company.
Hey, that's like wrapped up in a hug.
That's right. That's right. We really kind of, why do we want to get into this? It is because of people, but we found that clothing is the second highest, most polluted industry in the entire world. The second highest, most pollutant industry in the entire world. And we feel that everything from the way that we buy clothes, the way that we wear clothes, how clothes make us feel, it's gotten quite far away of being cared for, and clothing is one of the most basic things that we need as human beings, and so we're looking to change so much in the clothing business, how clothing is made, how customers are treated, how our team members are treated, how you feel when you put on one of our pieces of clothing, how our vendors, our manufacturers are treated. We work with some of the largest manufacturers here in Canada, and we are by far their smallest client. But we're their most favorite. And it's not because we think we're the most, they tell us we're their favorite. And they're not just saying, you know why we're their most favorite? They tell us because we're the only ones who say thank you. We're the only people that say thank you. Doesn't that just blow your mind?
Yeah.
And so we're really trying to change the way. I think there's a major problem in all these facets, whether you're a customer, a vendor, a manufacturer, just the end user of clothing. There's a lot of issues in the clothing industry. We're just trying to do our part to make it a little bit more caring.
Yeah. And so a clothing company that you started in 2015 and then transitioned full time around 2017, you said, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, what are you doing differently with your company that sets you apart besides the caring aspect from any other clothing company that's out there today?
Definitely. Well, one of the first big things that we're doing is we're dedicated to entirely manufacturing here in Canada. So we weren't always made in Canada. We made the transition about 2017,
Okay.
and we didn't know any better. We just made clothes. We bought T-shirts. We bought sweaters. We printed it on them, and we sold them. But when we started looking into the manufacturing process in the clothing industry, the textile industry, we started to see a lot of issues and a lot of problems. With stuff that gets made halfway around the world, you don't know how the workers are treated, to the overall quality of the product, to having to ship it, from one end of the world to another end to another end. And so, one of the things that we really wanted to focus on is Canadian manufacturing, right?
Hmm.
And a stat that I shared with you earlier is that according to Stats Canada, prior to 1989, over 70% of all clothing bought and sold in Canada was made here.
Yeah, that's
70.
70%.
Yes. So the
Okay.
majority of people, like our grandparents' closets when they were our age, it was all made in Canada. Now, fast forward to 2020, according to Stats Can, again, that number is less than 5%. Less
Yeah.
than 5%. And so, we really believe in making a better product, but making a better garment that's made by Canadians in a safe working environment, getting paid a living wage with benefits, with manufacturers that adhere to strict Canadian labor and environmental laws, but also, supporting a diverse Canadian economy, right? And then at the very end, the consumer at the end has a much better quality garment that will last long, much longer time, and will stay out of the landfill and more of a timeless piece in their closet. Uh,
So now I've heard this from other people who are in the clothing industry who have said that you just can't compete when you're buying or using Canadian manufactured, uh, you know, uh, services, I guess. And so is obviously that's not the case in your case. You guys have a thriving business that's based off of that. So where are they getting it wrong?
it all comes down to price, and that's the big thing. And we actually made part of the decision making process in this one was that we saw it as a competitive edge because we saw ourselves stacked up against all these other massive clothing companies who had the economies of scale that could make a garment for as cheap as chips, and we said, we can't make a garment for cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So we decided to go the opposite way. We zigged when everyone else was zagging, and he said, if we can't compete on price, we're going to compete on value, we're going to compete on story, and we're going to compete on quality,
Yeah.
right? And so, yes, it is more expensive to produce here in Canada. That's because you're paying. It's not the cost of materials; it's the cost to pay a Canadian wage to someone to actually make it. So, the competitive edge that we have is you're competing on values. It's hard to argue with someone about a Canadian-made shirt versus a shirt that's made overseas, but the way that the garment industry has been made that the garments will be able to make for cheaper and cheaper and cheaper is because the manufacturers are finding more ways to cut corners. If I do one less stitch here, or that'll save us a couple hours here and a couple of minutes there down the line. And so they've constantly cutting corners for years to make the garment cheaper and cheaper because they're getting squeezed by these bigger guys. Where the
Yeah.
Canadian manufacturers, they're the most expensive, so they're not looking to cut costs. They're not looking to cut corners. They're looking to make the best quality garment. So you have a garment that lasts a long time because a lot of these fast fashion brands, you wear them once or twice, pop in the wash, and then they disintegrate,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, or fade or whatever, right? Like the quality of it is definitely compromised. It's just unbelievable what you're seeing nowadays in terms of just how long you can keep a garment. Yeah, I totally agree.
100%.
Now,
Yeah.
another thing that you touched on was values. And so, I mean, obviously, choosing Canadian has big value statement there. And everything that you mentioned with regard to the negative side of the fashion industry and fast fashion and offshore manufacturing and so on, and the environmental impact and all of that stuff. But you're also beyond that, you have even a much higher value proposition, I guess, and that is in terms of the way that you support the charities. And that's that $1 million goal that you have of giving back to charities by 2030. So tell me a little bit about how that works.
Yeah, so we're on a mission to donate over $1 million to local charities across Canada by 2030. We really see that just we want to showcase that just because we're a small business doesn't mean we can't have a big impact.
Yeah.
Don't even really look at it as giving back because giving back implies that you took something, right?
Mhm.
We really see it as an investment. It's an investment in our community to make our community a better place, right? Because again, it goes back to that original thing about business's relationship. It's not just a relationship with your customers and your vendors, it's a relationship with the community stakeholders, the people around us. And if you're not making the community, the environment a better place, then what's the point? Why are you doing this? And so we really see it as an investment to make our community a much better place. And we want to encourage others, just because you're a small business, maybe only donate $100 at a time, $50, $10 at a time. That doesn't matter. It's not the amount that matters, right? It's the what matters is that you are giving,
Yeah.
that you are making that investment and that impact. And we think that's important. So we really want to showcase that. Look, we're not a big company. We can't be writing $1 million checks. But if we donate enough over time, consistently, to find ways to integrate it and weave it into our business, then over time you add it all up, and we'll have donated $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. Every dollar has impact, right? Like, especially when
Every
you're
dollar,
talking about at the local level. Yeah.
100%.
Okay, so now you guys are carving out a stake in the very top end, or towards the top anyway, of the garment industry. So that's a lot of companies really struggle with that whole pricing equation. And there's often with startups a desire to kind of go to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
It's compete on price. You're taking the exact opposite approach out of necessity in order to fulfill the mandate that you have. You're just at a higher cost structure. And so you have to take the top of the market in order to make any sense out of your business model. So in terms of that approach, that's a battle of communications. That's a battle of telling the story. That's a battle of really connecting with the consumer who does value the same things that you all stand for. So how do you do that? How do you do that effectively as a startup?
So it starts with building one real authentic relationship at a time.
Mm.
Right? It's about building that community, about connecting with people, and finding real and genuine connections, and going back to those relationships. So every single customer, get feedback, treat them over the top fashion. Tell your story in a real authentic way. Don't try and be someone that you're not, and really highlight the others in the community that make what you do possible. Highlight the manufacturers, highlight the local charities, highlight the other small businesses. Right, by telling everyone else's story, you start to tell your own.
Yeah.
So it's for us, it's kind of baked in since day one. It's really tell that story from the ground up in a real, authentic, genuine way that speaks to you, right?
Yeah.
And so we've always done it through collaborations, right? So when we were first starting, we had no money for marketing, and we'd find other small businesses who also had no money for marketing. Say like, hey, do you want to let's go create some content? So we'd find a photographer who was just starting out, and we'd find a blogger that was maybe starting out, and maybe a business that had a physical location, and we collaborate, create content together, and then we'd share each other's content across all of our platforms, and we share everyone's story. Hey, we're a clothing company, but check out this great coffee company. Check out this fashion blogger. Check out this up and coming photographer, right?
Yep.
And that's how we were able to kind of get our start and grow or organically.
Yeah. Yeah. Collaboration, building a community of like-minded individuals, right? That are beyond just your industry. I mean, this is
Yeah.
all complementary and supportive of everybody that has a shared value.
Yeah, and for us, one of my favorite quotes of all time is different is better than being better. And so
Mm.
when you're at such a higher price point, you really have to differentiate yourself. What makes us different? What makes us different than all the other clothing companies out there? And sometimes it's not. It's just about being different, and that's why we chose the tagline, Canada's most caring clothing company, because at first it's kind of like, I do you make clothing. Why? What? How can clothing be so caring?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So you have to find ways to differentiate yourself.
Well,
Different is better than being better.
So talking about quotes, so you're saying that that is one of your favorites. I really love what you just said earlier, which was tell everyone else's story and you begin to tell your own story.
Yeah,
That
100%.
that's so powerful, and that's something I just really wanted to circle back and really stress, because I didn't want our audience to miss that, because that is something that is so powerful, and it starts with that place of giving, giving first. It's about sharing everybody else, and then that becomes your own story, right? Everybody starts to discover you through that. So it's a very organic marketing, organic communications, and very much a, lift, like a rising sea lifts all boats kind of scenario, right? Where let's help everybody, let's talk about everybody else, and it'll come back to us in some form or another.
That's how you build that strong community,
Yeah.
right? It's those real authentic relationships. And when you're telling their story, they're like, people appreciate that, and they become like, we've made lifelong friends. We have
Yeah.
brother brands, sister brands, brands that we started, 5, 6 years ago along the same time. And we've all grown together, and we created this bond that we support each other no matter what. We challenge each other, we push each other.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's just a great way, because also, entrepreneurship can be quite lonely, and
Yeah.
it can be a lot of the weight on the world is always on yourself, and no one else quite gets it unless they're a fellow entrepreneur. So you're not only creating ways to kind of get your message out there, but you're also creating a bit of a support network. You're like, are you guys struggling with this too?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how have you done this? You're like, are your guys' sales down, or are we just suck? Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no, everyone's hurting. Okay, I feel a little bit better about myself.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And it's that the community, we all want to belong, right? And that's the beautiful thing about what you're doing with your brand, is you're helping people I find their identity, I think, as well, through the brand and the values that you have there. And so the tribe that you're building, because it's such a value-based proposition, essentially, that you have, that those are huge advocates, I'd imagine. Like, they're not just a customer, they're now kind of part of this movement of this value system. They start to identify through the clothing, and that, which is a powerful place to be.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. So I want to talk about, you'd mentioned kind of at the top of the conversation that you guys are often doing some zagging when other people are doing some zigging, or vice versa. So now, in the communications and marketing side of things, you guys are doing something that's really bold and kind of contrary to what a lot of people are suggesting that you should be doing from a online retail marketer perspective. And so, as a marketing company ourselves, I want to dissect this a bit. I want to share this with the audience. So tell me, how are you guys approaching your marketing? How are you sharing your story? What were you doing maybe before this pivot? And then tell us about the pivot.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, since we've been, buckle up. Since we've been in existence, about 2015, I really believe that there's been three major waves of digital marketing,
Okay.
right? So the very first one was the rise of Instagram. That was the platform that when we first started, everyone was on. And it was kind of a new tool. It was a new platform. I'd never been on it. People were scared of it. People were afraid of it. Instagram's a photo sharing app. It's for people who go on vacation, photographers. I'm a small business owner. What am I going to do? Instagram?
Yeah.
No, I don't know how to use it. I'm not cool enough to be on there. I don't want to show my face. I want blah, 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 blah. So people didn't go on it. And there were some people that did, and those that did were able to grow organically, and were able to grow and scale their business quickly, right? You see the people who got hundreds of thousands of followers, they did great business from it. That was great. Then everyone else started catching on, and then the platform started to change a bit. And now, a couple of years later, then everyone started to get on the platform, and that was fine. Weren't able to see that same amount of growth that you once were able to see. You weren't able to see that same sort of organic reach and engagement, right? So that was the end of the first wave. So then the second wave came. The second wave was digital ads, right? We had these prophets like Gary Vee talking about how digital ad space and was at an all time low, and to get in the space, you could really, if you just figure out the right formula, it's like putting money into a machine and getting a dollar in and getting $10 out. So there's some people who are afraid of it. Google Ads, SEO, no thanks. I'm too afraid of that.
Yeah.
It's all too complicated. I don't have time for it. Every excuse under the book. That's fine. Some people did it really well and got in really early and put the time, weren't afraid, and they did extremely well. They were able to scale and grow their business. Right. And then, things changed. iOS 14.5 came around, and then people who were, hemming and hawing around the fence, then they got in. And we were those people, by the way. We got in way too late, and it wasn't as effective, right? And that was the end of that. Now this third wave is upon us, and maybe waves aren't the best idea. So it's not that's not the best thing to say, because there's such an adverse reaction to waves with COVID. But there's a whatever you want to call it, a third thing, and we really believe it's short form video content and platforms like TikTok, right? And again, we tell our other entrepreneur friends, like, we're on TikTok and we're sharing our story. People are like, no, no, TikTok's for kids.
Yeah.
I'm not dancing. I'm not doing the trend. I'm not doing, like, I'm too afraid of TikTok. Or I'm not cool enough to be on TikTok. All these excuses, that's fine. But when we started seeing a significant decline in our return on investment of digital ads. And we were starting to see some slow sales months. We had to make a decision, and that's when we decided to go all in on TikTok and short form video content. Interesting thing is unlike other platforms like LinkedIn or Instagram that reward the aspirational, side of things when it comes to content, like the sexiness of the entrepreneur life, and the freedom and all that kind of thing. It rewards people that show the raw, authentic, the nitty, the gritty, so less manicured, less production value. What used to do really well on platforms like Instagram, that kind of thing, were those high end, quality, high production value. Whereas TikTok, you just pull up your phone and start talking. It doesn't matter if you look good, don't look good, your hair's a mess. People want the real, authentic, and gritty. And so we just started sharing everything. We've got this warehouse space, packing orders. We started sharing stuff on hey, we're doing some sampling. Do you guys like the sweater? Yay or nay? We're thinking about doing this. This is what's in our fridge. Little things. And again, we were able to share stories from other great local companies. Still having that essence of what we were doing before, and just doing it in a new way. And we were terrified.
Yeah.
Now we're dove headfirst, and we're seeing growth like we haven't seen since the early days of Instagram.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Okay, so let's get into some of the numbers so that our audience understands what you're doing there. So how often are you posting on TikTok then?
It's gonna sound crazy.
Okay.
We strive to post on TikTok 4 times a day on the brand account, 4 times a day on our personal.
Okay.
And that sounds intimidating, but you can put up content really simply, really quickly. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's that authentic part. It's the raw part, right? And this is, I think, also the beautiful thing about it. So our origin story at Ample Media was that of a video company, right? So we're a video first digital agency, and producing those high quality, high production value videos, that takes a lot of resources. And so it's not accessible for a lot of businesses. And you certainly can't be cranking out, 4 a day into that kind of a cost structure. And so in this approach, I love it. I love those platforms that really enable those brands to be very authentic. And it's about, again, the building that tribe around you and what you're doing, and tapping into the values. And the more you can pull back the curtain to the ugly or the uncomfortable, the more people respond to that. So I'm with you on this. So 4 times a day you're posting. The content that you're posting is, you already gave us some examples. Do you have like a schedule where you try to post a particular type of content each day or each week or something like that? Or is it just whatever's happening in the moment?
Pretty much. One thing we've learned is there's no rhyme or reason or strategy to platforms like TikTok. You don't know what's going to work. Like with Instagram, it was just like, post at this time of day, on this day of the week, this time. That's all gone. That's done. It's we just literally are throwing spaghetti to the wall 4 times a day and seeing what sticks. And sometimes, you'll spend an hour creating a perfect video, and then like, this is gonna get views, no problem. And it does nothing. It's like
Yeah.
10 views. And then the other time you're so tired, and it's like, I don't want to, I guess I gotta post something. And you do it. And all of a sudden that one is the one that goes off. And that happened to my business partner on his personal platform. He was packing orders, doing shipping. And he was so frustrated about how expensive shipping to Canada was. So he made a little TikTok, 45 seconds. This is ridiculous. Look at the cost of this. And he did a couple of cost examples and how it was cheaper to ship something to Germany from Calgary than it was Calgary to Edmonton. And all of a sudden that one blew up. And then CTV came and did an interview. And then CTV National picked that up, and then all of a sudden we're getting orders from across the country that never heard of us, right?
Yeah.
And the community is so much more supportive. The community on TikTok is very supportive because they understand that real, authentic, that raw. And it's not like it's just a bunch of 15-year-olds. It's people are migrating slowly, bit by bit, every day from the other platforms
Yeah.
to TikTok. And again, we tell all these entrepreneurs, small businesses, like, hey, get on TikTok. Like we're seeing incredible growth. And everyone's like, no, I because we weren't seeing the engagement, we weren't seeing that same sort of growth, we weren't seeing that anything from these other platforms. And the other interesting thing I found is I imagine you're probably at the same mind of it's not great to just take something on one platform, pop it on another. But
Yep.
where we found a lot of success is taking some of those videos, not every video, but one or two of them from TikTok and uploading it to LinkedIn. And we're seeing tremendous traction there because LinkedIn is a powerful, powerful platform. In my mind, LinkedIn is where the money's at, right? It's a very unique platform that it's established people who are on it, people that professional audience. And it's the only platform where people are not only allowed to be on it on their computers at work, but they're encouraged to.
Yeah.
But the majority of people, the only time the majority of people post on platforms like LinkedIn are when they get a new job or they get a promotion. And that's it. So the platform is starving for content. And a lot of people, again, they're shy. They don't want to be in front of video. So what do? They type. And so they write a wall of text, and nobody is scrolling on their phone wants to read that. So this repurposed content from TikTok up on LinkedIn has gotten traction like you wouldn't believe because it's all people that we know that want to be a part of our journey, want to support us, that want to be there. And the number one thing, most of the stuff that we post on LinkedIn is asking for help.
Mm.
Hey guys, we just got a new warehouse. Anyone have any furniture? Everyone's saying, I got tables, I got desks, I got chairs. We rented a U-Haul, went around all these offices and picked up our whole warehouse fully furnished. Didn't pay a penny just because people wanted to support.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was going to ask you. So, in terms of content differentiation between the two platforms, so you're lovers of both of them for slightly different purposes, it sounds like, and you're being very selective in what you're reposting over into LinkedIn. And so, walk me through that a little bit from the perspective of a consumer brand, right? So, you're business to consumer, where a lot of people are going to say, well, B2C, you don't go to LinkedIn for that. LinkedIn's B2B. So talk to me a little bit about that and how beyond the furniture, it's actually helping you with the sales side of things too.
Definitely. Well, take this lovely shacket, for example. This is a shirt jacket made out of organic cotton bamboo. It's made out of sweater material.
Okay.
And it's a very expensive piece to produce because there's a lot of working parts. So we really wanted to make it. We said, you know what? I don't know. It's a lot of money up front. I don't even know if this is going to sell. And so my business partner said, look, Connor, we'll put them in production. We're going to make 100. If you can pre-sell 25. I was like, oh, I can. He's like, we have to charge 150 bucks for it. It's like, I can sell. So I made a video and I said, I said, hey, everyone, like, we want to make this jacket. It's made in Canada. It's a great fall piece. My team won't let me do it unless I can pre-sell 25. Who is willing to support us and purchase, pre-sell pre-purchase one at $150 in order to get these in production? And I posted that on LinkedIn. And I think I've sold at least almost 50, just like that. People that want to hop on, so it's I'm not posting videos on LinkedIn of, a little bit some of the more sillier stuff, but just asking for help or getting market feedback It's a fabulous platform for market research. Would you pay $150 for this jacket? Why or why not? Yes, or how much would you pay? Because again, it's people, professional, well-educated people are on that platform during work hours, right? And they're looking to be a part of your journey. They're looking to support. And so I would highly, highly encourage, even people direct to consumer, because Christmas time's right around the corner. And the number one thing that a lot of companies buy is they're just Christmas gifts. They say, hey, Connor, can we buy 20 sweaters, for our company as a thank you gift. But don't sleep on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I like what you're talking about too, with the regard to the market research, just like what you're saying, even on TikTok, where you're holding up something and asking for immediate feedback from people. And so this is one of the things that a lot of businesses don't really understand is it's so easy to tap into now your target audience and actually ask them what it is that they prefer, try to problem solve, do that market research, the product fit, talk about what you're thinking, get the responses from people before you actually venture down creating all of that. Because we're at a time now, unlike any other point in history, that we can get that immediate reaction, immediate feedback, the data that we need to make those informed decisions as we grow our businesses and really direct where we're going to put our resources. So I applaud you for recognizing that and seeing it. And the beautiful thing about it is you're doing the market research, but at the same time, you're engaging that audience, getting them more involved. And so if they have an ability to influence what you guys are creating, they've got buy-in now. It's almost as
skin in the game.
Yeah, it's like they're part of it. They're part of this journey.
And people want to be a part of it. They want to be everyone, it's natural human instinct to want to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can provide that platform, and again, it goes right back to what we said at the top of the hour is relationships, right? And it's those people that carry you through and support you when you need them the most. And
yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, so I have a question for you. If you were able to write your younger self, so back in what was it that you said, 2015 when you started, right? Yeah, 2015. So if you were to write your younger self a letter, so 7 years ago, that you could present to it with advice in that, just as you're going down this venture, what advice would you give yourself in that letter?
I've already started. I've
already started right now. It's today. Somehow you're able to transport this letter back in time to 2015 to your younger self. What advice would you give in that letter?
Because before I was started, I would have told myself start sooner, because I wish I had started this thing at 20, because I think I started at 25. I could have been that much more further ahead. But I think the biggest thing is what I would have told myself is like, yeah, you can create something great, but it does take time, and really just to enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
just have fun, because like I'm in a place right now where I'm the happiest man in the world. Not the richest man in the world, but I'm the happiest, because I found my purpose and I found fulfillment exactly what I'm doing. So I would just say enjoy the ride. You're gonna get to where you want to go. Time.
That's beautiful, man. I love it. I really do. And I think what you're saying there in terms of just finding that fulfillment and really enjoying it as you're going, and understanding that it all takes time. But if you can keep that focus, it's amazing how just doing this, working at it each and every day and just putting in that time. And then all of a sudden, it seems like, for me anyway, year 5 is where things just really kind of blew up, because at that point you've built enough core audience, core tribe, core customer base in those first 5 years, where things just got easier after that. And it also correlates really tightly to what a lot of people will call the valley of death for small businesses, where the vast majority of small businesses die in those first 5 years. And it just seems like that's a magical number, whether you're B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter. But I mean, don't get lethargic after the end of 5 and think, oh, I've made the 5 and everything's going to be a coast. You still have to do it. But it's that, like you said, letting go of the need for immediacy or immediate success, and just putting in the time and continually working at the craft of being an entrepreneur. If you can do that in your first 5 years and be really hyper focused, it's going to be great coming out the other side of that.
Well, and that brings up, a really great point, because I wholeheartedly agree. And if I were to give my younger self practical advice, that don't be afraid to change, because our business has changed probably fundamentally about 4 or 5 times.
Interesting.
And what works today isn't going to work tomorrow. And
Yeah.
what worked yesterday might not work today.
Yeah.
So if I were to tell myself in 2015, do not fear the new, do
Yeah.
not fear the change, and getting more practical. If I were to start this over in 2015, imagine to go back, I would have gotten my face in front of the camera and started to tell a story a lot sooner, because I was so shy, and I didn't want, I thought it was egotistical or narcissistic to be the face of a brand, but
Yeah.
that's what people want. You need that champion. And I would have ridden that initial wave of Instagram, and then I would have told myself to ride that initial wave of digital marketing and get
Yeah.
into TikTok sooner. And so what it's really taught me is that whatever that next thing is coming, we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But if I get a sense of it, I'm not going to be afraid. Oh, that's what kids are on it, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to work on it. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be afraid of the news the next time around. I'm going to dive in head first. I'm going to be an early adopter.
Yeah, yeah, early adoption for sure. And it's really, again, worth repeating, I think, in terms of not fearing that change, especially when it comes to your marketing strategy. So me coming from a place of like, this is where I live within the marketing each and every day. This is one of the things that in terms of industries, I don't know any other industry that changes faster than what digital marketing is. Just like you were talking about with the 3 waves, or the 3 different kind of phases that you've experienced in the short duration in which your business has been alive and thriving here. It's unbelievable what we see each and every day. And so there is no other industry in which my knowledge from 20 years ago is somewhat obsolete. The strategies are still applicable, but the actual tools and tactics need to change, and we need to adapt rapidly.
100%.
Yeah, it's really neat. Well, thank you, Connor. I really appreciate you taking the time today to share some of your experiences, your enthusiasm, the passion that you have for your business, how you're looking at things differently. I know there's a lot of other things that you're doing where you're zagging while other people are zigging, and so on, because you'd alluded to that a bit, and we just don't have the time to get into it all. So if somebody wanted to connect with you, buy some local laundry, or just have a chat with you, how do they get in touch with you besides just following you on TikTok and LinkedIn, I suppose?
Definitely. I mean, check us out at locallaundry.ca. That's probably the best place you can email us anytime at info at locallaundry.ca. Or if you're in Calgary, you want to pop by our warehouse. We call it the warehouse, the WEAR house. We're at 4128th Street Southeast. Come on by anytime between 10 and 3, Monday to Friday. Happy to give you a tour, happy to sit you down, make a cup of tea, and you can try on some of our clothing, really get an understanding of why we're Canada's most caring clothing company.
Awesome. Love it. Okay. So for those of you who are watching this episode, you liked it, and you want to check out some of our archives, head over to amplifyyourbusiness.ca. That's where you're going to find, I don't know, at this point, we're like 150 different interviews. And so check it all out. There's some incredible entrepreneurial stories there that you're going to be really interested by. And if you happen to be an entrepreneur with your own story, then fill out the form on that page, and you could be a future guest on Amplify Your Business. Until next time, everybody have a prosperous day.